Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the No Fudd Zone podcast. As usual, I'm joined by some of my fellow online gun enthusiasts today, and we're going to talk about whatever topics they bring up, you guys bring up. Feel free to ask questions. I believe we got Welper, we got Johnny Mandrick, and we got Scorch here today. Everybody say hello. Just say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
And Scorch wanted to weigh in on something here first. So let's go ahead. And this was asked in the comments too. So let's get to this. I don't know much about it myself, but hopefully I will learn something as we're talking here.
Okay. So the suspect was apparently appointed to some type of security position.
Talk about what we're talking about first.
Oh, okay. With the shooting of the two Minnesota state representatives, tragically, one of them and their spouse died. The other two were in critical condition, but they're expected to recover. So if there's any light at the end of the tunnel, it's that. But so the suspect was appointed to some kind of a security position by Governor Tim Walz. And I don't really view this as a political incident. I know some people are trying to politicize it, but the way I look at it is just a wacko who had a grievance and took it out on these two representatives and their spouses.
Well, he also did have, when they got to his car, he had a list of about 20 other people, most of them politicians, that were on his hit list. So
I think his biggest issue was abortion. And he's like an anti-abortion guy, and he's
hard to tell. It's real spotty for the info, and they haven't caught him yet. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, have they not caught him? I thought someone just said they caught him in the comment section.
Last update. Well, go ahead, Welp. I'm sorry. Our Mad Dog. Sorry.
Did he have something to say?
No, go ahead, Mad Dog.
Where's Mad?
Who's Mad Dog?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's got Mad Dog under your name.
Scorch. I'm Scorch. Yeah,
Scorch.
Mad Dog.
Sorry, Scorch. It's got Mad Dog under the name in my brain. I'm old like Yankee, so my brain doesn't always work.
I was like, who the fuck is Mad Dog?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was your question again for me?
No, you were about to say something, and I cut you off, so I wanted you to finish.
Oh, about the alleged shooter. They have a suspect, but I hadn't heard that he was caught, is what I was going to say.
Yeah, someone said in the chat that they just caught the Minnesota shooter. What do you think that's going to have to do with gun laws and blah, blah, blah? And I don't know. And myself, I don't know anything about it. Like I said, I didn't know. I just looked it up in between the chats here because someone brought it up. The only thing I've seen so far is that he was the evangelical Christian who did these missions overseas and everything. He's very devout. And his issues mainly were abortion related, but that's all I've seen. So I don't know if he's caught or not.
Wow. And I wonder if the other 20-some people on the list, if he perceived them to hold the same values as the representatives that he shot. Yeah.
Are they Democrats, Republicans? Is it political? Are they pro-life, pro-choice? What are their beliefs on those? We're going to have to find out what his main issue was.
Yeah. I saw where they said that there were more of the other people, like the 20 or whatever, most of them politicians, some that weren't, but I don't believe they released any names. They're probably protecting those people right now in case this guy wasn't working alone. Yeah. Or I'm sorry, because they haven't caught him yet. So,
yeah. The first thing I thought when I heard about the shooting in Minnesota was I thought it was anti-Somali/anti-Muslim. Because I know there's some hate directed towards that community by the far right in Minnesota. But since the two individuals were white and presumably non-Muslim, I don't think that was the case.
And someone just said in the chat that a video they showed of him saying he was saying that we were losing our democracy and nobody was doing anything about it. But what does he mean by that? Because the woman he shot was she Republican or Democrat?
Democrat.
Both Democrats.
Both Democrats. So it wouldn't be like he's like, Trump is a king. He wouldn't be one of those people if he shot Democrats. So is he thinking, because now I see there's a big movement on the right of the courts are taking away our democracy because they keep stepping in on Trump and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I actually had a comment today, someone who was attacking me on my channel, like, we've never had the courts weighing in against a president at this degree, or the Supreme Court rebuking the president like this before. This is we're losing our democracy. And I'm like, well, maybe that should tell you that the president's the problem, not the courts. If it's the most conservative Supreme Court we ever had rebuking a conservative Republican president, that shouldn't tell you that the courts are broken. That should tell you that maybe that guy's doing something wrong.
Yeah, and I can remember in the Obama years, the Democratic pundits saying that Obama was the most obstructed president we'd ever had. So it really depends on how you view obstruction. I look at it as checks and balances at work.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of shit yesterday. I lost a lot of subscribers and a lot of patrons last night because I said that in this bill, they put in a provision that prevents courts from enforcing orders against the executive branch for, being in contempt of a court order. So I'm like, well, that is a direct violation of the checks and balances and the balances of power. So I don't know how people are on the right are okay with that. But every time you say something like that, they change the subject to something else. So I've never gotten a straight question on that yet.
Oh, yeah. The number one I get is, no, it's not. That's not in there. You're making that up. They're making that up. It's not in there.
It's definitely in there. You can read it. You can go to the government website and read it.
Yeah, I heard the Senate was taking it out, and then somewhere else said they were putting it there. They left it in. And the biggest thing is that when it gets to the parliamentarian, they're going to yank it because there's no way to tie this to the budget and taxes at all.
Yeah, it's not anything to do with them. Why is it in the budget reconciliation bill? Yeah, and it's like,
well, because they're threatening to cut. What they'll end up doing is cut funds that go to the courts, which is his next step.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I can't win. Well, if I take away all your money, then you can't have court. So.
Yeah, it's not a good thing when they start trying to take away checks and balances. I am not for that at all. Just like I don't care if you're the most pro-Trump person in the world, when you're seeing time and time again that they're not giving due process, that should be a red flag. And I'm like, I don't care if you think the person who they're not giving due process to deserves due process or not, because the point is, how do you know that if they haven't been given due process? If a sheriff or a politician or the president just says, yeah, those 30 guys over there, they're not Americans. We're putting them on a plane and shipping them to Guatemala. And you're like, well, okay. And they checked their immigration status. They had due process in front of a judge, etc. Oh, no, you just take my word for it. Why would anyone be okay with that?
No. And the best part, it's not the best part. It's the weirdest part is it's typical Trump. I didn't do it. Well, if I did do it, I'm allowed to do it. So they're here illegally. Well, even legally, we have the power to revoke that anytime we want for any reason. And
it doesn't. And we've already seen multiple cases of people that had citizenship that were denied due process and have been deported. So
they held a U.S. Marshal for like 12 hours.
Yeah,
because they didn't believe his credentials.
Exactly.
Translation, oh shit, we messed up. How are we going to cover our butts?
Yep. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But as far as the shooting goes, a lot of people are like, well, is this going to be bad for gun rights? Well, it ain't going to be good. His timing definitely isn't good either, because it's going to look political, whether it is or it isn't today. And that's what was I preaching about for days. Don't go out on the 14th. Don't get involved in anything on the 14th. Don't be what they want. Don't be that person who's easily incited and will do something crazy so that they can point at you and say, oh, well, we were going to take short barrel rifles off the NFA, but look, we got crazy people out there. We can't do it right now. Now's not the time. It's just, I'm like, good God. And even with that statement, when I said, hey, everybody, don't go out. Don't get involved in these things. If you're not there to support the cause, just don't go. Let them have their say. Let them teeter themselves out. Let them go about their way. Don't go there. There's no reason for us to be there in opposition because, for one, it's a no-win situation, because even if you think they're just anti-Trumpers, well, what you're going into protesting is a no kings rally. So that's not going to look good from the beginning. Plus, you're going to have a bunch of people getting out there that are easily incited and going to do something stupid that's going to, harm all of us. So just stay home for a day. Just ignore it. And people are like, hey, you want to ignore it and it's going to come to our front door, or you're ignoring when they're attacking our democracy. And that's like, I don't see anybody attacking a democracy in a no kings you're really reading your own narrative into it to justify your own desire to go out and have conflict. It's not a time for conflict right now. Let's, try to win the fights we're fighting, not create martyrs and, people to for the left to point at and say, oh, look, they went out and shot up people because, that's what they do. That's what that side does. We don't need any more of that right now.
Yeah, I cringed when I found out that the two representatives that were shot were Democrats, because I immediately thought that the backlash was going to be against conservatives and gun owners.
Well, here's the irony. Within hours, the GOP senators in Washington called up the master at arms, being very concerned about their safety.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the latest report. I think it's only a few minutes old for the updates on it. They haven't caught the guy yet, as far as I can tell. He was an employee of a security guard company. So he had all of the outfit. They're saying he was dressed as something that looked like a police officer. So that could have been his regular outfit. But
I
he
don't like
hunted down these people in their home. How did he know where to find them?
I don't know. Anything I would have to add would be speculation, because like I said, all I know is what I read on the one little AP report that I can see here.
Honestly, that if he's in security that's related to the government, that will not be hard for him to find. And all he needs is a few like-minded people on the police force. One person, I shouldn't say a few, one person at the DMV, at the police force, some in the government, and they'll be able to pull up those records in no time.
Or just follow them home one day.
Yeah. Something else I'd like to address here is I've been hearing, I guess, rumors that Marines have been arresting people willy-nilly in LA, and I don't believe that's true. I think they had one detention in a federal facility.
I haven't seen any evidence of Marines acting as law enforcement. So
I saw one where somebody went and basically provoked them into them detaining him. I have friends in LA, and I'm sure if that was happening, I would be hearing about it.
There'd be videos all over the place if it was actually happening, because everybody in that protest has a phone, I'm sure.
Now, it is very possible that someone just threw a box of crayons, spread crayons all over, and the Marines are too distracted to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. All you got to do is carry a box of Crayolas, and if they come at you, throw those the other way, and they'll go chase those, and you can run off.
Yeah. And the big headline was 700 Marines are being sent in. And I'm saying, well, as long as they're at the posts they're supposed to be, it's not an issue.
Yeah, if they're guarding the post office, the federal building, and all these other things, well, that's fine. It's just like when they guard the embassy. They can do things like that. What they can't do is go out and be enforcing laws on U.S. citizens. They can't be being used as law enforcement. So as long as they're just there, like defending the federal properties, national landmarks, things like that, well, then there's, that's not a problem. It's if they're marching down the street, tear gas people, arresting people, knocking people in the head, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and I also have not heard of the California National Guard arresting people. As far as I know, they're just kind of backing up the law enforcement.
The only thing I've seen them doing is standing in a line. Pretty much, that's all I've seen them do so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled with the reasoning, and if I want to change aisles and put my conservative hat on, how much money is this costing us to do what?
Oh yeah, it's costing a lot of money.
How much money does it cost to transport that many Marines all the way over there and house them and feed them and do all that, to stand in front of buildings that there was no evidence were in danger anyway?
Well, yeah, and a week ago, they'll be bragging, we just cut $28 million from the WIC program. We saved $28 million. And then, 2 weeks later, they're like, we just spent $138 million organizing all this, anti-protest stuff.
Yeah, it's cost shifting. Yeah,
it's not really money they care about. They don't care about how much money they're spending. Any politician that pretends to care is really got other. I mean, there's maybe two that really do always hold the line against spending. Like Massey and Paul. They really do walk the walk on spending. I'm not saying I agree with everything else they do, but when it comes to we don't want more spending, they're usually pretty consistent about that. But most of the other politicians, they don't care how much they spend. They just care where it's spent and who they can make happy by saying, we're taking stuff away from these people or taking stuff away from those people.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is when you look at the U.S. national budget, $100 million is nothing.
No.
I mean, if you try, you don't even want, as a percentage, it is absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well, it's like when they were talking about, we're going to cut this much money from the parks program. We're shutting down these parks because they cost $3 billion a year to run. And I'm like, yeah, but they generate $52 billion a year. So they're $49 billion profit every year off of them, but you're shutting them down to save $3 billion. No, you're shutting them down because these big corporations want to weaken the EPA and weaken the park services and weaken people who want to protect the parks so that they can go in and rape the land. That's why you're shutting down the park service.
Well, the other thing, and I know this because I have a friend that's got a PhD in volcanology, and she's got her grants, and she's doing this and that. I didn't think
Vulcans were real.
They are, I think she's a Romulan. I really think she does, but, it's hard to tell. But part of what happened to us is they went through with AI, and if you said climate anywhere in anything, you got your budget cut.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these national forests, national parks have areas, and some of their things talk about climate change, talk about this. That's it. That is my opinion on why these things are getting cut like that. Is somebody somewhere in their thing it said climate change, and that's not real. And this administration will cut it all off.
Yeah. And of course, right now it's, to deny climate change is ridiculously stupid. It is happening. There's nothing you can say otherwise about it. There is no division in the scientific community. There's only some big corporations that have their own pet scientists that say something different, but no scientific organization, no scientific community. No one disagrees that climate change is accelerating at a scary rate. And we can see the effects of that every day. It's nothing we can deny. But, the big business, unfortunately, doesn't want to do the things that would need to be done to fix it. And actually, we're kind of in a no-win situation because tomorrow America could say, we're going to do everything. We're going to completely go to solar. We're going to completely go to electric cars. We're going to completely go to this. All it would do is, change about 5%. Because, as long as China and Russia and India and Pakistan and everybody else is doing what they're going to do, what we do isn't really going to help. So it's really a bad situation. I'm glad I'll be dead soon. Someone said the list included Governor Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar. Why didn't he start there? Why didn't he start with Ilhan Omar? I mean, good Lord, don't these people have priorities? Senator Tina Smith, Attorney General Keith Ellison, abortion providers, and pro-choice activists. I doubt Republicans are on it. Yeah, there's not a lot of pro-choice activist Republicans. Even there's lots of Republicans that have paid for abortions. I can guarantee you that, but they can't take a public stance of being pro-choice because that would hurt their voter base.
Yep. Either be pro-life or we'll kill you.
Yeah. Well, with them, it's just you're going to lose part of your voting base, and when you're counting on that slim 5 to 10% in the middle to go your way to win an election, if you piss off them on something, a hot button issue like guns, gods, abortion, stuff like that, you're going to lose your margin. And it doesn't matter if you got that, we got 6% of the 10% in the middle, so we would win. Well, no, because all your right wingers stayed home because you were pro-choice, or all the left wingers stayed home because you were anti-abortion. So you got to keep every one of the extremists, because then you won't. There's not enough people in the middle to make up if you lose your base. So,
yeah, it's the same thing with Democrats on the immigration issue. They have to back that horse.
They have to pretend like they're, it's good for the country, and when it's not. Just wanting immigration is not good for the country. Now, I'm not a closed borders guy. I don't mind. I don't want walls at the border. I want people to be able to go back and forth across the border and buy stuff here and buy stuff there and all this other stuff, and vacation and come back across on holiday and all that other stuff. I'm all for all of that. I'm all for migrant workers. I'm not for mass immigration where entire communities are flooded with people they can't afford to support. Their tax base breaks. And I know they love to say, all these people come in here and work and they really are changing the tax base. Well, in some places that is true, because like in Ohio, all the people they brought over, they're all working in what's his name's factories, his family's factories, because he brought them over to work in those factories.
Yeah, Governor Mike DeWine.
Yeah. But in most cases, that's not the case. In Gresham, Oregon, that's not the case. It's just giant mass illegal populations are destroying the counties and the cities' resources. They don't have enough to support these people. Everything is going to, they're spending every dime on people that shouldn't even be here, to where they don't have anything to spend on anything else. So that's the case in most places. Now, in some places, yes, they come in, they get jobs, they pay taxes. The vast majority of them don't get jobs where they actually pay taxes. They're paid under the table, because it's a lot cheaper for the company to pay them under the table, because that way they don't owe them anything. They don't have to give them retirement. They don't have to pay their workers' comp. They don't have to pay taxes on them. So they pay them under the table. That doesn't contribute to the tax base at all. And it just cripples the economy where you're at. And it also does lower the standard wage. If you get 100,000, if 100,000 Mexicans move into Gresham and they're all willing to work for $8 an hour at the window factory, well, then nobody at the window factory is getting a decent wage.
Well, that's
the other. The other thing is that these hotels were getting overcrowded, and they were turning families out onto the street to make room for the next wave of migrants that they couldn't take care of.
Yep.
That was ridiculous. What's happening in New York City?
Well, that was a little different, I think, in that like Texas in particular started sending by plane and other ways all of the anyone they rounded up, because the court told them they couldn't deport them back to Mexico or wherever. They sent them to New York as a political stunt, and that kind of put everybody in a bind. But if you go to Southern California, no. However it got paid is also something that's under the rug, because it was the Texas governor that did it.
Well, there's already been investigations and lawsuits over who paid to ship these people, but they all hit it pretty well. Who paid to ship them? Now,
I know, like if you're in Southern California, there's all kinds of industry and factories down there. I can guarantee you, based on experience, at least 2 times I've had suppliers with issues. Somebody bought them. They came in and said, hey, we need everybody's paper. 50% of the workforce ditched. Now, they were all, they were working in factories. They were, the taxes were coming out. But to Yankee's point, they didn't have to pay them, what a going wage would be. They didn't have to treat them well, because what are you going to do? Complain to who? Then it'll come out you're an illegal and you're out.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But when this happens, what happened to the companies when they got caught? Nothing.
Here they rehired the same people the next day with just different names on their name badges.
Yep.
So Carol said, like, there's one of the guys she worked next to, my sister, that she worked next to in the window line, the frame line, that he probably had 5 different names the whole time he worked there.
Oh, yeah. Now, what I thought was interesting was what Trump said and what immigration started doing. He said it Thursday night. They started doing it Friday. They are exempting hospitality and major farms. Read major farm corporations, because they complained to Trump and probably donated and bought mega hats that. Well, this people aren't coming to we don't have enough employees because people aren't coming to work because they're afraid you're going to raid us. So they were told to stop raiding them.
Yeah. Well, because it was hurting big corporations who own most of the farms, wealthy people and corporations that own most of the hotels, wealthy people and corporations that own most of the bigger restaurant chains. So that's who was getting hurt. And they were like, we need our illegals. You need to get rid of the other illegals. And I thought the whole point all along was that you were going to go after the criminals. So why aren't you in like downtown LA and stuff going after the gangs? Why are you showing up at Baskin Robbins and trying to arrest people that work there? You know, if they're working, send them a letter, say, hey, you got to come to a court date because we're contesting your status. And then if they don't show up, you go after them. But why are they raiding like restaurants anyway? Those people, the busboy is not the MS-13 agent. You know, he's not out there making buku money transporting hookers and drugs on the street, or else he wouldn't be working as busboy at the Tony. So
that's his cover.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So go after the bad guys. You're not going to hear any complaints from me when you're arresting gang members and stuff like that, then giving them a hearing, and if they're not citizens, shipping them back where they come from. Not going to hear any complaints from me at all, because I'm totally against illegal immigration or wrongful immigration, or whatever you want to call it. But I am okay, like I said, with work visas, things like that, because we need it for the economy up here. If you want to start paying people $30 an hour to pick fruit, I mean, fine. Fruit's going to be very expensive, which is going to hurt me because I have to eat a lot of fruit. But like I said, there has to be some controls. There has to be some measures, because as we were talking, even if someone's paying taxes, in some places where they work for big factories, they hire them, they pay their taxes. And that does help, and helps even more so than more normal people, because most of them don't file tax returns to get the money back. Yeah. So it all goes to the government. But it does drive down wages, because if they can fill all 200 positions for $8 an hour, well, they're not going to pay any more than $8 an hour. So,
well, what happened to the days where the employer sponsored their employees? Why isn't that taken off on any larger scale?
I don't see that as a thing anymore.
It's moved. That's more in engineering and technical jobs. It's one of Microsoft and Musk's favorite things to do.
That's those H-1B
is to bring people over from India, let's say, with their family, but it's indentured servitude. They own that person's right to be in the U.S.
Yeah, that visa, that H-1B or whatever it is under the name of the company.
Yes. So if you don't like the way you're being treated, you don't want to work 90 hours a week, you want to raise, whatever. And they literally like fund their houses. I mean, they literally said it's the old company line or company store type thing. They own the houses. They basically own the people, and they get them for half of what they would be able to charge somebody here. And to be fair, they come over and think it's a great deal because they're making more money than they would have back at home.
Yeah, someone just said in Tucson, if they hire an illegal, they can get a $250,000
so you don't think that would be a good idea?
Fine per person. And show me one company that's had that $250,000 fine per person. Let's see here.
So you don't think that could extend agriculture?
So
is he just stuttering for me, or is
no? He's breaking up for me too. Who keeps clicking their gun?
Sorry, let me get closer to my source.
But what were we talking about? I forgot what we were saying. Oh, but the H-1B visas, they say, we don't have it. We just don't have enough. We just don't have enough, technical people in this country. We don't have programmers. We don't have engineers. Well, that's because they can't get a job. if they go to an engineering school in this country. You know, they can't get a job because you're going to hire them from India for less money. And I know people that work here for Intel. You know, that generally would be like it's a job that would probably be like $120,000 a year job for an American engineer at Intel, but they'll hire two guys at 50 grand each. You know, and this to the point where a lot of the engineers over at Intel have to live in apartments with two or three of them, because they don't have any family here, because they're immigrants brought over. They live 2 to 3 to an apartment, and then they go to a job that should be a job that people could raise a family on, but it's not. It's a $50,000 a year job because they want to pay two Indians $50,000 a piece instead of paying an American 110 or 120.
Oh, and Musk, and it was great because Musk flat out came out when he was called on it and said that American engineers were too stupid to do the work.
Yeah.
They literally said they were too stupid and lazy to do the work.
That's bullshit. We're the country that drove the tech industry, drove the engineering revolution after the war. America's what did that. And it wasn't until that it became more profitable to hire second-rate engineers out of India that it was suddenly Americans are too dumb, because they were the smartest people in the world right up until the corporations wanted to cut the bottom line to make more money.
Yeah, well, before them, though, it was the Chinese, until they realized that the Chinese government was sending people over to steal technical secrets.
Technical secrets, yeah. They were getting them over here so that they could be spies. I think that's about it for our time today. Let me make sure we haven't missed anything important. I don't think so. Yeah, people know not to weigh in too much when we're doing these roundtables because we don't get to a lot of the stuff. But I want to say thanks to everyone for participating. We didn't talk much guns tonight. We talked mostly political stuff. But thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate it. I hope to see everyone here again tomorrow. Thank you guys for coming in here and having a chat. What did we say?
Thanks for having me.
David Ford said Vlad the Flatulence FSB recruited him by any chance revenge for resorting to drone violence on Uncle Vladimir's youth organization's airfields. I don't understand that. Does anybody else understand that?
No, there's. I'll be honest. Between Russia and the Ukraine, Israel and Iran, and what's happening here, I'm running out of bandwidth to keep track of all of this.
Yeah, all I know is I don't care who's on the other side. I'll never support Russia. I don't care if Venezuela started launching missiles at Russia tomorrow. I'd be like, yeah, it's Russia's fault, because I'm never going to trust or be on the side of Russia. Same thing with like Hamas. I'm never going to be on the same side as Hamas. That doesn't mean the other person is right. It just means they're not Russia or Hamas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really sickens me to see so many apologists these days for Russia in our government. It really, really sickens me.
Well, they're trying to stay on the administration's good side.
Yeah. It used to be there were one or two senators that everyone knew, a congressman that everyone knew was a Russian plant. There was one guy that everyone knew he was a Russian plant, but they just, it was just one guy, so he didn't really make much difference. But now it's like all of them toe that line of like, well, you got to get both sides. And Vladimir's, he used to own that country. No, they didn't. So it's garbage. It's just, why are people supporting Russia? They are never the good guys. Ever. It's there's just some people you never support. But it just, like I said, bothers me that we see some people doing it now. But thanks everybody for coming. Like I said, I appreciate it. Thanks everybody out there for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with our regular programming. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until we see you again. Everybody wave and say goodbye.
Night, everybody. More questions next time. Come on.
Yeah.